mystery and wonder, where legends echo through the ages like whispers in the wind. There exists a place where history meets intoxication. Welcome, adventurers, to Legends and Libations,
where we'll be sipping through history.
We're your hosts, Jesse
and Matthew. Join us as we embark on a journey through the annals of time, delving into the myths, the heroes, and the tales that have shaped civilizations. But this isn't your normal history lesson. No, here we add a twist, a splash of the finest spirits from around the globe.
From the fiery depths of ancient myth
to the most convoluted of conspiracies.
Each episode uncorks a new legend paired perfectly with a hand-picked libation.
So hold on tight as we traverse the sands of Egypt,
the forest of Celtic lore,
and the bustling streets of medieval Europe.
With each sip, we unlock the secrets of the past, revealing the essence of humanity's greatest stories.
So grab your favorite glass, pull up a chair, and prepare to be transported to a realm where legends come to life and history is best enjoyed with a drink in hand.
This is Legends and Libations,
sipping through history.
Let the journey begin.
The sound of me putting ice in my scotch. What kind of scotch are we drinking today, Jesse?
So we're drinking Dewar's Blended Scotch Whiskey, aged 12 years. It's called True Scotch, and it's double aged for extra smoothness.
Is it 12 years the double age, or is it like actually 24, but the label says 12?
No,
that would be confusing.
So yeah, what happens there is they first actually distill it and leave it in a barrel, and then they bring it back together and blend it, and then let it age again.
Okay.
I don't know how much longer each one is, but it's probably a total of 12 years.
I'm just curious if Prince Andrew was interested in this scotch. We got to get the numbers right, because if it's 12 or 24 is a big difference.
Oh, if this is 24, I'd have been paying a lot more than what I did. So this is not like the white label, that stuff that kind of feels like. I remember when I first heard of Dewar's, I was a bartender, and I had a guy ask me for Dewar's and water. It was the 10-year. Not 10-year. It was the white label, and that stuff is not very good. But this was a step up.
I haven't even tried it yet.
Yeah.
I should go ahead and try it.
Yeah, I think me too. Oh, actually, holy crap, that is smooth for scotch.
Smells like scotch. Tastes like scotch.
Oh, really? I think this is actually way smoother than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm. It's not kicking me in the chest.
No, not at all.
I don't feel like I could light my breath on fire like I normally do.
But it still has that really nice smoky flavor in it.
It does.
Like, it has smokiness, but holy smokes, this is actually really smooth. I was not expecting this. This is a little unexpected for me. I was like, oh, Dewar's, it's probably just going to be whatever. And this isn't whatever. This is pretty damn good.
Jesse's drinking his neat over here, and I'm drinking mine on the rocks. But he's more of a veteran and a connoisseur of scotches than I am.
Oh, I love a good scotch.
That's good. We put last time we forgot a little bit about the libations because we got caught up in the legends, but we don't want to sell the libations short because they play an important part of our show.
Considering this is called Legends and Libations.
Exactly.
So are you a normal scotch drinker?
No, I wouldn't say a normal scotch drinker at all.
Whiskey drinker?
Not my favorite.
Okay.
But this is okay though. Like if the point of it is to make it taste nasty, so I drink it really slow and don't get drunk, then they do a great job.
Okay, so take it from a scotch drinker. This is a pretty decent scotch. I do drink scotch regularly, so I'll be the advise here.
I'm glad that it gets your seal of approval. So why the scotch today? How does it tie into our legend?
Yes. So this scotch is one of the few from Perth or Perthshire. That's in Scotland, of course. All Scotches are, right?
Right.
So this is John Dewars and Sons, but this is blended and distilled in in Perth, which brings us to a very distinct item that has found its home in Perth.
And what item is that? You guessed it right by the title of this episode. If you read it, it is the Stone of Destiny, otherwise known as the Stone of Scone, which some people pronounce it
Scone
or Scoon.
Yeah, but not scone, not like the British, baked
Pastry.
Pastry. Yeah, It's not like that, but it is spelt like that.
It's a little bit of scone-based confusion, but we might refer to it as scone, scoon, or Stone of Destiny all throughout that, but we all are referring to the same thing.
Yeah, all of it is, in fact, the Stone of Destiny.
And since you're listening to this, you might not have seen the Stone of Destiny before. Can you tell us a little bit about what the stone looks like, Jesse?
Yeah. So the Stone of Destiny is not a very, very... I mean, it is unique in the fact that it's actually rectangular. But it's not unique in any way that you're like, oh man, that stone is totally noticeable out of all the other stones. It is about a little over 2 feet, 16 inches in length, and then in width, it's a little under 1 foot, about 11 inches.
So that's not that big of a stone, really.
Not that big.
No.
But heavy as heck.
How heavy is it?
We're looking at, I think I read 346 pounds.
That is pretty heavy for a small piece of sandstone that is only about a foot wide.
I know.
How does it get that heavy? Honestly, have no idea because we're not geologists here.
Yeah. If you're a geologist, go ahead and feel free to answer this question in the comments. We would greatly praise you in our next episode.
No, this isn't Euros in geography or geology. This is Legends and Libations. So, what makes the stone so legendary? Or how about let's start with what we do know about the stone, because there's a little bit of confusion about the history of the stone and where it comes from originally.
Yeah. So maybe we should start exactly with what the stone is.
Okay.
The stone is actually originally used for the Scottish coronation of the king. Now currently used by the British monarchs.
And it was used for the coronation as most recently as last year, I think.
By
it was
by
used
Charles III, right? He was coronated on it. In fact, they even made, when they originally got the Stone of Destiny from the Scottish, they made a chair.
Oh, yes. This is called the coronation chair. I read about this.
Oh, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, originally, they would sit directly on the stone, and there was no seat on it. It was just the stone and then the wooden back and arms of the chair.
Feels so primal. So primal.
Exactly. It felt like much like Stonehenge, England legends, where we're sitting on this stone that's thousands of years old. But eventually they decided that this might create some like wear and tear on the stone, so they encased the top of it.
Butt prints.
Exactly.
They don't want butt prints on their stone.
Especially from the days where like the bigger you were meant like the more royal that you were. So you had some pretty big kings.
Pretty big butt prints.
Exactly. And now it's encased in wood at the bottom of the coronation chair. And that was what was used during King Charles III's coronation that just happened.
Yeah, apparently there is one little thing etched on it. It's a little cross, but it's hardly noticeable.
And I could not really see. It was more than like maybe a couple of lines, it looked like, or just like some natural formations. But it did look like there was an etching of something on there.
Yeah, it came off because of the butts.
There's also 2 iron rings that were installed at either end of the stone at some point along the way to make it easier to carry or to transport. But those were not originally part of the stone during its like ancient history at all. They were added much later.
Do we know what time or?
No, I'm not exactly sure what time. It was probably
It's medieval. I'm sure.
Medieval. It was during the time that it was in England after they went and got it from the
so
Scottish,
it's a little while later.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. But legend has it. If you're like thinking, okay, coronation stone.
This is a real thing. This isn't like the Ark of the Covenant last week where we like don't know where it is.
Yeah, no, we know exactly where it is.
We know where it is.
Right now, it's in a Perth museum. Like it just got put there really recently.
So you can go and see this.
Yeah, in fact, they're offering the experience. Apparently, it takes 10 minutes to go through the experience, and the tickets are free. All you do is have to end up in Perth.
It's free.
It's absolutely free.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
So if you want to go see the Stone of Destiny, it's probably as epic as it sounds when I just said it.
Yeah.
Do you want to go see
I would
the
like
Stone
to go
of
see
Destiny?
the Stone of Destiny. Can you touch it?
These are probably not.
They had problems, allegedly, or apparently, they had problems with people chipping off parts of the stone as part of a souvenir when it was in Westminster Abbey for all those years. And
Wow.
yeah, it seems it would be cool to have as a souvenir, but it seems a little disrespectful as well, I guess, because you can't all have a little chipping of the stone, really, or there would be no stone left.
Yeah, everyone wants a relic, and then you realize, I have a chip of a bone, a chip of a stone.
Yeah, I can just go pick up a rock outside and tell you that this is a part of the Stone of Destiny, and
we could
you would
start
have
selling
no
relics, modern day relics.
Exactly. It's like people who have
If
part
you
of the
need
Berlin
to call
Wall.
us, we have part of the Stone of Destiny here.
Exactly. Just visit our online store. You can buy parts of that. You can buy parts of the Berlin Wall, maybe the
Yeah.
Ark of the Covenant as well.
Yeah, well, at least cloth that touched
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah,
It's Shroud of Turin. There we go.
All right. So, but this thing has legendary beginnings.
It does.
Yeah,
And
this doesn't just begin. Ooh, hey.
this isn't
is a
just
random
about
stone.
the English coronation. This goes back even further,
Oh, about 3,000 years is what it said, right?
and out of England, it goes all the way back to the Middle East.
Yeah, it goes to outside of Israel before Israel was ever a state.
Okay.
Or not to include like the modern
way that
day
we think of
state,
it.
but like in the ancient world before Israel was a people group, it finds itself
Before
in,
it was a kingdom.
yeah. It finds itself in the patriarch Jacob.
Okay.
It apparently one evening he's going around tarrying. He's a little tired. It's a little late. The sun is down, and he can't go any further. Well, this comes from Genesis, right? He's like, okay, well, I'm going to hang out here for the night, set up camp.
Sounds good. Just sleep
But-
where you drop. Sort of
But
thing.
yeah, but he doesn't set up camp. He grabs a few stones, and he's like, this is the perfect pillow. Stone pillows, guys. Stone pillows, perfect pillow.
This makes no sense to me. I mean,
And-
did he
and-
like put his blanket or his shirt over the stone? Maybe like pat it a little bit.
You know, maybe he had like some feathers from some chickens.
I mean, you know how it is sleeping outside these days. Like if you go camping, you got to have that air mattress, and you got the sleeping bags and the pillows
he
and
put
everything.
a mattress
Like
over it.
I can't even imagine. Yeah, use the stone as the base for his air mattress. That's what I would be doing.
Yeah. So he uses a stone as a pillow. Well, that night,
He has a
vision.
vision.
Dream. Yeah, he has a vision, a dream. And he sees angels going up and down on a ladder from this pillow, this stone.
Sort of like a stairway to heaven sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like very much Stairway to Heaven. And that has been considered somewhat of a portal between heaven and earth. God there makes a covenant with them in which he then is promised that he will have descendants upon descendants that will go, they'll
Multiply and
multiply and be everywhere.
Okay.
And so this stone apparently was carried with him to Egypt, somehow made it to allegedly Italy and Spain. I
There's
don't
not
know
many
anything
accounts.
about that. And then
We couldn't find anything in our research about the Italy and Spain.
only that it was there.
Right.
And then Ireland.
Ireland.
Everything ends up in Ireland.
Yes, it does.
Is it legendary? Have you looked in Ireland?
I would check in Ireland because if you remember from our last episode,
There's
that-
the Ark of the Covenant lays.
the Ark of the Covenant eventually made its way to Ireland. And further coincidence, it was the prophet Jeremiah who allegedly took it there. And I think we have a little bit more of a record of, well, we have the hill with the carvings that say that Jeremiah went to this place in Ireland where this hill is. We don't necessarily know if he took the ark or the stone all the way to Ireland. That may have been something that was inserted to like enhance the mythology of the stone later on.
Yeah. What do you remember what the hill is called?
The hill, yes. I have it written down here in my
Tara.
notes.
Tara. Yeah. The hill of Tara is where, it's apparent everything's in the hill of Tara.
Yes, it's the exact same place where they said that the ark was. I thought that was really interesting.
We're going to find out the Holy Grail and St.
Probably
George
so,
is
yeah.
buried there,
The
and,
Ten Commandments, yeah.
Yeah, it's-
Jimmy Hoffa, he's probably buried there too.
Elvis. That's where
yes.
Elvis is. I've been wondering about that lad.
But there's not no connection to the stone in Ireland. We do have a history of a stone being very important in this part of Ireland. What is that, Jesse?
Yeah. So we do have a stone. Definitely, it's recorded between the 500s and 800s. That was a coronation stone. Yeah, it exists in Ireland. We see it in the 5th century.
Apparently, this stone would roar or make some kind of like noise when the person who is worthy of the king, of being king, approached the stone.
Holy smokes! I didn't know that.
That's pretty interesting.
That's pretty awesome.
It reminds me of in those Harry Potter prequel movies and the Fantastic Beasts, how they had that little animal, that little cute little like deer thing, and whoever the little deer creature came up to would be the one who was supposed to be like the next like minister of magic or something like that.
Oh yeah, but
this was a stone, and it would like growl at you if you were worthy of being the king, apparently.
Well, it hasn't growled for a while.
I don't think that it's growled for a while, and I think that this stone was like more like a vertical pillar than it was a small 21-inch by 1 foot stone. Like I think that it was an actual like column sized thing.
Okay.
But according to legend, though, this is the same stone, and sometime during the years, like
maybe they just set it on top, or it was the base.
Maybe, exactly.
It's hard to connect it, but yeah, the Stone of Destiny.
And apparently, it was taken from Ireland to Scotland to this place called Argyll by Fergus, and he was the first king of Scotland.
Not Argyll.
Oh wait, hold on. No, Argyll is where he took it, but later on, we're gonna have the independence.
Oh, okay.
This is different.
Yeah. Okay, so he took it to Argyll.
There's a lot of confusing names
from Argyll.
Yes.
I should have got one from there, but I'm not.
I love the names of the Scottish things though. Like
Scotland is one of the most beautiful places. Name wise, the country itself. I mean, the fact that it's like the last place of like that noble rebellion.
Right. The names really put you in that time in history too when you hear them.
Oh, yeah, it feels like it doesn't belong to this world.
They evoke so much imagery of yes, exactly, and like the way that medieval and fantasy sort of like crosses over.
Yeah. And that feels like it feels like in Scotland. Have you, if you ever go to Edinburgh, or have you ever been to Edinburgh?
Yes, but the most I got to see was like the outside of the castle. I never got to see the inside.
That whole city makes you feel like you're in like Harry Potter,
right?
Or like
exactly.
Freaking walking in like Game of Thrones.
We should have a Harry Potter reference counter because this is not going to be the only 2 times that we mention Harry Potter throughout this episode, and probably throughout the entire podcast as it is. But
yeah, it's just part of our
just
childhood.
Yes, it's a big part of our childhoods.
We can't escape it. Sorry, guys. We try. We can't.
Okay, so the history of the stone is kind of laying dormant at this point. It was used to coronate the Scottish kings for a long time.
The first one we actually have in writing, which of course doesn't mean the first time it happened. Usually writing happens much later. But the first time we have it in writing is for the boy king Alexander III in 1249.
1249.
Yeah, that's when we start seeing it reappear. Of course, it is being used, and we see it in some places.
So it was definitely used before 1249.
Oh, 100%.
Because as you're going to see pretty soon that's going to come to an abrupt end.
Yeah, pretty quick. And it used to, like, by this time it ends up being north of Perth, 3 miles north on river. Wait, I don't know if it's north. It just said up. 3 miles upriver from Perth at the River Tay is originally where it was. The coronations happened.
Okay.
Which kind of feels like super mystic. Like, oh yeah, we have to go up river 3 miles.
Right, exactly.
And find this like place where the stone lies, and there you'll be made king. Sounds super epic. So yeah, we have something that's pretty curious though that happens at this time. With that stone, we're in a particular place. Do you know what place I'm talking about? Where the Stone of Destiny was allegedly even brought back to later on.
This was Aberth Abbey, right?
Aberth Abbey. When there was still Catholics in Scotland.
What's important about the Aberth Abbey, though?
Yeah. So this abbey was really founded. It was founded under King William the Lion. Which again, if we're talking about that like epic.
I love their names.
Yeah.
This is like back
King
before,
William the Lion.
This is like back before, like, you know, when you're trying to choose a username for something, and it's like all the usernames are already chosen. You have to put like all these numbers after it. Like, I want to be William the Lion 2436 Alpha Gen Z or whatever. But back then, all the usernames were available, so you could be like the Lion,
the Bear,
Robert the Bruce. No one really fighting over that one, I don't think.
No one's fighting over this. Well, anyways, he allowed this. He made sure this was built in 1178 by the Benedictines. This abbey was consecrated in 1197. But what is fascinating is this is also the space for the Declaration of Scottish Independence.
Independence, okay.
In 1320 under King Robert I.
And it is after what happens next in history of the stone, though, which is interesting. That explains a little bit about what's going to happen later on, because when a part of our story unfurls at the end that I'm going to talk about in a minute, they take the stone back to this place. And during my research, it said that this is where Aberystwyth Abbey was, where the Declaration of Scottish Independence was, but it never said that this is where the stone is at the same time as the Declaration of Independence was signed. So it was, once the stone was taken, they used it as the place to sign the Declaration of Independence, I think, because of what we're going to talk about next, which is...
So quickly, the King of England, he's kind of pissy about this.
Who's the King of England right now?
Edward the First.
Okay.
Edward the First decides that he's going to go on a little raiding party on the Scottish, and he finds some loot, and that loot is in fact the Stone of Destiny.
Wow. Pretty good ground score right there.
That's like finding the Ark of the Covenant.
Exactly.
I don't think he just finds it. I think he knows he's going for it.
He knows that it's there.
The monks know he's coming for it too. So this is a really important part of the story we'll come back to, but like the monks know he's coming, but the King of England is conquering. And the Scottish fight right now isn't on a win.
No, they're not organized.
Yeah, there's still a lot of separate clans at this time.
And so they have no choice but to turn the stone over to Edward Longshanks.
Yeah, I like that you use Longshanks as like that. That's, I think, exactly what we should think of right there.
This is just a cool nickname.
Yeah. And do you know where he of course he takes that to?
I have no idea.
Westminster Abbey in England, where all the coronations of the English monarch have happened.
So it was like a pretty big move for him to say, we're going to take the stone that the Scots have been using to coronate their kings, and we're going to bring it back to
and coronate
England.
our kings on it, which means, okay, well then these are Scottish. These are the Scottish kings, are the English monarch.
It's funny how we have that trend of taking relics from other cultures and stealing them and bringing them back to our capital city and making them a part of our traditions and rituals. It's just like a way to just like spit in the face of the people you conquered.
Yeah, but interestingly, this is exactly how the Scottish got it, right? From the Irish?
I'm not exactly sure. Like, do you think that those people groups were migrating, or did they take it?
Yeah,
it seems like they might have been moving to more fertile places or something like that.
Yeah, that's curious. I don't know. I assumed that they
This
did,
is how you have like the Celts and the Gaelics, and like people are going to be screaming at their phones right now who can't talk to us, but because we're getting all this wrong probably. But I think that it was the people group itself was kind of moving, and that's how they got it to Scotland in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, if so, that's not the same as someone stealing.
No, like Edward Longshanks just came and straight up stole the stone from the Scots, took it back to Westminster
and to declare English rule over the
Scotland.
Scottish.
Yes, it's symbolic rule. Well, why is the rule so symbolic though?
The rule is very symbolic. Well, it's symbolic in a lot of ways, and the fact that this, first, it's taking away the liberty of the Scottish to rule themselves.
Right.
It's saying, hey, we're gonna be ruled from London, which. I mean, come on, that's like New York telling Alabama what to do. It's
that's
like
true.
That's very weird. It's like, what happens if we completely work differently? And in a world where they do completely work differently, how to survive and what they're dealing with.
It's hard to rule a place from that far away too.
Especially if you can't take a plane there. But what is also given at that time is there's apparently a verse attached, a little script attached to the Stone of Destiny. And that script said, unless the fates be faulty grown, and prophet's voice be vain, wherever is found this sacred stone, the Scottish race shall reign.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's I think part of like why we see like Edward trying to make that dominance over the Scottish, but they're not ruled so easily.
Oh no, definitely not. But the stone would remain in England for the foreseeable future from this point on.
Yes, it would. But what happens in the late 1600s is after the Reformation, even there is James II of England, or James VI of Scotland, whatever you prefer calling him.
It's a little confusing.
He is the Stuart dynasty.
See, he had to start putting numbers after his username.
Yeah, he did. He had to be like, okay, well,
it was already taken.
In England, James II was fine, but not
exactly.
But in Scotland, he had to go James.
Signing up for a different
James
website.
Yeah, he's signing for a new website, new rule. Anyways, he's Scottish. He's from the Stuarts, right? Mm-hmm. And and he's in line for coronation, and he gets coronated, and like, holy smokes, a Scottish ruler is on the throne.
Right, because they've been using the stone as the coronation seat
Yeah.
for the last 400 or 500 years at this point.
So the Scottish, the Irish, the Welsh, a lot of people are into this. They're like, and apparently he was much more, I say liberal, and I mean that more in a way of like he allowed playhouses to be open and allowed people to listen to music. He wasn't so Puritan as the rulers before, and so Elizabeth II actually. Or Elizabeth I, sorry, not second, like first. This. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like it. And Parliament didn't like it because
they were seen as being ruled by a foreigner.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So
and they weren't going to have that, so they're going to hatch a plan.
Oh yeah, and their plan is bring in William of Orange.
Orange must have been like where he was from, like a place or something like that.
Yeah, I think he was like Belgium or German. He was somewhere from.
Wait, so he's not even English.
He has some English line,
blood in him.
But but like some English royalty, but he's not English. In fact, I've heard allegedly he didn't even speak English.
Wow.
Well, yeah, and
I mean that's like our president not being able to read. Like we had a Trump and his morning briefings every day were like 3 bullet points in a picture. So
yeah,
that's pretty par for the course when it comes to monarchs a lot of the time.
Yeah, Parliament can rule that kind of guy very
exactly.
easily. Yeah. So, yeah, they bring in William of Orange, chase away James's descendants, and years later, that becomes a real problem for the English throne. It creates what we call the Jacobite rebellions.
I've heard of these guys before.
Yeah, so I often think of the Scottish warriors, the Scottish Jacobites, but there was Welsh, Irish, and even English, a lot from Northern England that were against this kind of false king, this against this William of Orange, really, or this dynasty, this new dynasty that has come. Though the dynasty called the Stuarts the Pretenders, all these people found that they were actually the real royalty. So it's like this is the last romantic
This is very
fight.
Game of Thrones.
So much. You have the Stuarts trying to get their throne back. In fact, Game of Thrones is so much based around this history.
I've heard of this. I heard it was based on something called like the War of Roses.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know a lot about that, but that might be for another episode.
That is for another episode. Thank you. Holy smokes. I just got poured a real dram. This is the dram for a man right here. It's like almost top, guys.
Well, see, this is what happens when you bring over cups that I've never seen before. I don't know how much the etiquette is to fill them up.
Yeah, so we're drinking out of Glencairns, having our drams. If you guys know what those are shaped like, they're kind of almost a bowl with like a top that comes up. Usually you fill them about halfway through the bowl.
I rounded up to
he rounded up to
about 2/3.
close to the rim. So
all right, so what do they do about William of Orange?
Yeah, well, William of Orange stays there.
Okay.
And his descendants stay there.
So the Jacobite rebellion...
The Jacobite rebellion is to get the true king, the Stuarts, back on the throne.
So it's not a success, though, does it sound like?
Otherwise, it'd be called a revolution, right?
Rather
than a rebellion.
Yeah, you're right. They always call it a rebellion when it fails and a revolution when it succeeds.
And there was points. Bonnie Prince Charlie, the grandson of James the Sixth, really leads this rebellion, and he even goes to Scotland and is with the Scottish coming down to London. There's this point where London was almost sieged by the Scottish, but they
made it all the way to London.
They did, but there was an informant inside their ranks
of spy
that lied to them and said, "Oh, actually, they have tons and tons of army ready in there." But actually, London was not being protected at the time because there was wars with the Spanish, and so. There was like a really low amount
a small
of warriors.
Garrison they left over.
That day, the Scottish could have taken over.
That's crazy.
It would have shifted the world as we see it right now.
Wow.
Like Elizabeth, Charles, none of these guys would exist.
So you think about moments where like history comes down to a pinpoint.
And this is it.
This is this guy who was the informant, and you say he's the one who informed the rest of the Scottish army. He said that the English have forces
that they didn't have.
So he was getting communication both ways. He was not only giving the English information from the Scottish, but he was also feeding back false information to the Scottish army to get them to act in a certain way.
And this is what causes this big issue.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
That's some
we
next
were
level
so close, right?
diplomacy right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have really changed the way the world shifted right there. But as that didn't happen, there was later a battle, the Battle of Culloden in 1746. That is one of it's not the last stand, but it's one of the last stands of the Scottish Jacobites against the English tyranny. It's not successful.
Of course.
I personally have had some of my ancestors come from that battle and why they came to the Americas after.
Wow, and that's
tremendous.
Part of why you're wearing a kilt for this episode right here.
I had to wear the kilt to
Y'all
represent.
Can't see it at home right now, but Jesse is in his full Scottish uniform with his kilt and his little purse bag, which probably has a
It's called a sporran. All right, let's put it together. Funny enough, is one time I was serving and I was wearing my kilt, and this girl comes up to me and she's like, "I just want you to know you're so brave." And I'm like thinking like a Scottish warrior, right? Like I'm thinking
I'm
like,
William Wallace.
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
William Wallace. I'm Braveheart. Oh, and she's like, "I just think that you wearing that is like a brave move." And I saw it in her eyes. I was like, "Oh, damn it. She thinks this is a skirt."
Yep, exactly.
And she's like, I was like, "If you knew what you were saying, this is actually really manly, I swear."
Right, exactly.
I swear this is manly.
They've been wearing this for hundreds of years, if not thousands.
Yeah, and I did try laughing it off, but it kind of hurt me for a sec that the modern world doesn't know what a kilt is. Definitely because they're everywhere now. So I am wearing one of my clan kilts. This one's Mackenzie, but McLaughlin is really one of my more attached clans, and that was one that fought in the Jacobite rebellions. I think all of them really did. Everyone was involved, but
It had to be involved at this point. It's like Scottish independence.
or not, right? It's
Right.
one or the other.
Yeah.
So then after this time, the Stone of Destiny is quiet.
And right, like basically a lot of that, like it was trying to get the Scottish back on the throne.
Yeah, trying to get Scotland to either rule itself or to have a Scottish ruler over Great Britain. I don't think like so much the Jacobites were like, "Hey, let's get rid of England at this time." They're more like,
we want to take the whole thing.
"Yeah, we're going to take the whole thing," and because the real.
But they would have settled for independence.
Yeah,
probably.
The real land or the real royalty was in fact the Stuarts. Still a very common tartan to wear now, but they do go on to tell about the mid 18th century, but after that the line dies, and so there's been no hope for the Stuarts since then.
And the stone didn't move during any of that.
Stone didn't move.
No,
Stone didn't move.
did
It
not
stayed
get
in
taken
Westminster
back,
Abbey.
And that's where it was all the way until the story that I'm going to tell you in a second. But we have a couple of things that happened to the stone before that.
Can you tell us about some of that?
Yeah, I'll tell you about one real quick. And it is in 1914, there was a suffragette demonstration that was going on. And kind of like the Just Stop Oil people now that you see like throwing the can of beans on like the Mona Lisa and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
They thought that they were going to make a statement by putting a bomb beside the coronation chair.
Oh, that sounds rough.
Yes, it was like an IED, improvised explosive device full of like shrapnel and like bolts and nails and stuff like that. And they put it right beside the chair and it exploded, causing damage to the chair and the stone. And I don't know if they achieved what the suffragettes set out to do, but we didn't find out that the stone was actually broken until later on.
We'll get to that in just a moment, won't we?
Yes, because there's a couple of world events that seem to have taken place between this incident and the next one. What were those events, Jesse?
The next one is World War II.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Germany bombing England like crazy, especially London. And
we can't just have our stones sitting out for the Germans to bomb.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Damn Nazis will take it.
Exactly. And we know how obsessed that they were
with everything.
Yes. Anything to do with like a legend or whatever, like the Ark of the Covenant that we talked about, like the Nazis were after it. You can see that in the Raiders of the Lost Ark
episode. Yeah,
they would have loved to get their hands on the Stone of Destiny.
Yeah,
Hitler probably would have sat on it himself.
He would have put butt marks on it.
Yes, he probably would have taken a dump on it because he was into that sort of thing.
He's the worst. Anyways, so what happens during World War II is they bury it deep under Westminster Cathedral, which makes me wonder what is under Westminster
Yeah,
Cathedral.
exactly.
We always talk about the Vatican, but do
was
we
thinking
ever
the
talk
same
about
thing.
the English Westminster Abbey? I said cathedral. I meant Abbey. Westminster Abbey. Cathedral is actually a Catholic place there.
And this is
very
the
beautiful,
City of
very
London
different,
sort
yeah.
of thing
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
which has
City
its
of London.
own conspiracies around it.
Oh, so many, so many.
So they buried the stone, or not buried it, but they hid it away in this underground chamber.
And they gave that information to just a handful of people. One of them was the Prime Minister of Canada.
Why did they give it to the Prime Minister of Canada of all places?
Yeah, William Lyon Mackenzie King. I thought it was interesting that his last name was Mackenzie, which is what made me wear this tartan.
Lyon Mackenzie.
Lyon Mackenzie King.
King.
William
is
Lyon
King part of
Mackenzie
his
King.
name? Or
Yeah.
Okay, so
They
Lyon
gave it to-
Mackenzie King.
and I'm guessing they gave it to him because Canada is part of the Commonwealth, so
Right.
hopefully they give it back. But didn't they give it a few other people?
Let's see, they locked a copy of the map in the vault of the bank in Ottawa as well, which was also in Canada. So in case this one dude that they gave it to, something happened to him, that it was also in this like safe deposit box or a situation. And whoever drew the map up themselves kept a copy of it for a while, but I think they ended up destroying it.
Yeah,
But it would have been really cool to have a copy of that map and know where the Stone of Destiny is, or like at least that they care enough about it to
Yeah.
have these contingency
well,
plans.
isn't that crazy? We're talking about 1940s, and they're like, oh yeah, we gotta protect the Stone of Destiny.
Right, which means that they place importance on it.
Yeah. And in fact, that even Charles III is given like monarchy over, like he's coronated on the Stone of Destiny. There's obviously some value to this. Makes us think, right?
Right, exactly. Sometimes the legends are only as valuable as like how much you assign to it, and the more people believe into it and buy into the
But
mythos
a lot
of
of
it.
people don't even know about the stone.
No, I feel like
it's just under the seat. But that coronation, did you see the coronation?
I will not lie to you, Jesse. I did not actually see the coronation.
How very American of you.
I'm not one of those
very
big into
American.
the royal family people.
Yeah. If it's fair, I didn't actually watch it either. I just wanted to ask you as if I did.
I saw a picture that the stone was there.
The stone was there. But yeah, it's obviously holding importance. But it also holds importance to the Scottish, and so
Probably more so.
More so, and so there's a moment in history, isn't there, where something just a few years after World War II, something happened, right?
Oh yes, something big definitely happens to the stone. It's
you tell
probably
me
the
about
stuff that Legends and Libations is made of. And this is not like some like magical, mythological fairy tale story about. This is about
People are still alive from this, right?
Yes, well, until very recently.
Okay.
This is where we're going to veer off into a little bit of like a thriller sort of territory, because how important the stone was to the Scottish, and it had been in England for 800 years at this point. So you've got some students at the University of Glasgow in 1950. This is right after World War II ended, and they're really like patriotic. You know how the Scottish get about
Yeah, it's
their
interesting.
patriotism.
Even now, if you go to England, no one has a British flag or an English flag, but everyone in Scotland and Wales has Welsh flags and Scottish flags. No English flags. The English feel bad about being English.
It's still very much alive today.
But the Scottish and the Welsh, holy crap, they love being Scottish. They love being Welsh, and
they love
why
letting
not?
everybody
Yeah.
know about it too.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you had a flag with a dragon on it, like this, the Welsh
point.
do, I would too. But also Scottish, they wear kilts.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't, like, it's such a comfortable experience.
You can't make fun of people wearing kilts because they'll kill you. Okay, so Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day,
On Christmas Day, 1950, there's three Scottish guys and a Scottish woman. We got Ian Hamilton, Gavin Vernon, Kay Matherson, and Alan Stewart have this plan to bust the coronation stone out of Westminster Abbey.
they're
going to steal it on Christmas Day. This is their plan.
on Christmas Day, they're going to steal from Westminster Abbey. Mm-hmm. How are they going to do that?
They think that on Christmas Day that there's going to be like lower security or whatever.
Everyone's full of good cheer.
Yes, exactly. On Christmas Eve, Ian Hamilton tried to like stay in the building after hours and like open it up from the inside. Like this was like their first attempt.
Oh yeah.
And he got caught. and they kicked him out. Yeah, exactly. This is a very like low budget plan that they had. So the next day they're going to come back.
They are college students. They
Right.
can eat ramen. There's not much more they can do.
That's a good point, Jesse. So the next day they come back with their even more high tech plan, which is a crowbar.
Ooh, very
Exactly.
high-tech.
So they take the crowbar to the door of Westminster Abbey, and Kay Matheson is driving the getaway car, and she can hear the noise from the crowbar that's breaking into the door all the way in the car.
This is happening
In the middle of the night,
London.
in the middle of the
Yeah.
night, in the middle of London on
Holy
Christmas
smokes.
Day, they're going to break in to
Definitely
Westminster
dependent on
Abbey.
everyone being full of cheer.
Exactly. and no one looking at what's going on right here. So they get in and it's pitch black on the inside. They can't see anything, but somehow they manage to find their way to the coronation chair. They use the crowbars again and they bust open the stone from its like little enclosure that it's in.
They must have felt very successful at that moment.
Oh yeah, well I mean they've committed now. They're already in Westminster Abbey.
Yeah, so they have to keep going.
Let me take a sip of scotch for this Scottish story right here. But okay, so they kind of like didn't plan ahead and realize how heavy the stone was going to be.
Like 346 pounds.
Yeah, it's like 346 pounds
holy
heavy.
Smokes. Could you imagine trying to carry that?
They were having trouble. But luckily, or maybe unluckily, depending on how you look at it, when they pulled the stone out and it hit the ground, it broke. Because it was damaged from that bombing that we talked about early.
And that was in
1914. So the bombing that had happened 36 years earlier actually ended up helping them and making it easier for them to steal because it broke into a portion that was about 100 pounds and a portion that was about 200 pounds. So,
but with the three of them
Right.
and the one at the car, that's easier to lift.
you would think so.
Maybe.
So one guy was able to carry the 100-pound portion by himself, which is a pretty good feat. I feel like picking up a 100-pound stone would be pretty heavy.
Yeah, you deadlifters are not allowed to mention anything on here, but 100 pounds feels like a lot.
I mean, look at those videos of those guys lifting those stones in like Ireland or Scotland or wherever it is.
Oh,
You know,
the
where they, like,
Highland
lift those
Games? Yeah, the Highland
They
Games.
lift those big stones. I wonder how much those weigh. They probably weigh way more than this.
Let's say 100 pounds,
Yes.
just to really give it. Guys, those weigh 100 pounds, and Scottish Highland Games are really epic.
Yeah, they are.
I'd
But
love to go
these
see
are
it.
not the guys that are stealing the stone, though. These are some college students.
Yeah,
And yes, they would be
They're
kicked off the
nerds.
Highland Games team. They
Big
would,
nerds.
yeah. So the other ones, they try to pick up the 200-pound piece, and they figure out that they can't really like pick it up and carry it at all. So they take off their jacket. One of them takes off his jacket, and they roll the stone onto his jacket, and they start pulling his jacket like a little makeshift sled across the floor of Westminster Abbey. And eventually, they're able to pull it out of the door, and they get it into the trunk of the car or the boot, if you're English.
If you're a British listening
Yes.
to us, thank you, first of
We-
all.
we
but
know some
also,
of,
the boot.
Yes, the boot of the car.
You're welcome.
All right, but unfortunately, when they get to the getaway car, Kay Matheson, who's in the car, she's like, so the cop saw me when I parked the car earlier, or like when I moved it or whatever, and here he comes right now. He's right there.
The cop is
The
right
cop
there.
the cop is right there.
Well,
So the cop comes up as they've just gotten to the car and closed the doors, and he like knocks on the window, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we need to look like we're doing something shady, but not something like we're stealing the National Monument of Scotland shady. So
Okay,
they start like making out or whatever, and they're like pretending
sexy.
like, yes, exactly, like they've gone down like a lover's lane, like right here in Westminster Abbey. And the cop totally falls for it. He's like, all right, you kids, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay
You
here.
can't be kissing over here. You need to go somewhere else and kiss.
They actually ended up sharing a cigarette with the cop. And
Could you imagine knowing that you have the Stone of Destiny
Exactly.
in your boot, and you're like, oh yeah, we were just kissing, cop.
oh yes, we just have the National Rock of Scotland in the back of the car. We're trying not to mention
Holy
that.
smokes.
Yes.
And they're just having a cigarette with them.
They end up having
Just
a
having a
cigarette
smoke.
with the
Holy
cop.
smokes.
Exactly. And he lets him go.
Hallelujah.
Exactly. They're like,
Oh my
"Whew,
God."
Okay.
And this is on Christmas. A Christmas
This is on
miracle.
Christmas.
Yeah. Holy wow.
So they loaded this one into their car, and they got the 100-pound portion into another car. And do you know what kind of cars that they were, Jesse?
No, what kind of cars are
If you've
these?
seen Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, This is the
I recall it.
This is the exact same kind of car.
That little blue one that
Yes,
flies.
the little Ford Anglia.
Oh my gosh,
That
they're flying.
What
They're driving that little thing.
Exactly. What a good symbol though. Like they go from England or they go from London to Scotland in
That's
Harry
exactly what happened. Oh,
Potter. They
holy
go from
smokes!
London to Scotland with the stone.
Wow.
So as soon as they figure out that the stone is missing, though, it's all red alerts sort of thing.
Oh yeah, does it like all shut down or what?
Okay, so they shut down the border between Scotland and England for the first time in 400 years when they were looking for the stone.
Wow, that's
stolen.
like Hadrian's Wall was
Yes.
reactivated.
It's nuts though. Like you hear about the stone, you're like, okay, well, it's just like some relic or whatever. But we're gonna like close down diplomacy between our states because of the stone being stolen.
That's like Georgia no longer able to
Right.
come in Alabama. It's like we just cut things.
Not that we're from Georgia or Alabama or anywhere like that, but
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yes. So what do they do when they've got the stone? Is I think that they make it across the border before they know that it's gone, because they do get back to Scotland with the stone, both pieces of it, and they know that the heat is on them, that the authorities everywhere across the country are looking for them. This is made not national news. This is made international news around the world. That the
Like
four
we're
students-
listening to it in America
Yes.
or grandparents. Sorry.
everywhere, especially everywhere in the Commonwealth, knows that the stone has been stolen on Christmas Day. This is a big deal. They don't know who's stolen it yet. So,
But someone did.
but it's missing, and they used a crowbar to break the doors down
And the
messed up
British
chair.
government must be pissed about
Yes,
this.
there's most
A
certainly
crowbar and some college students smoking
and
cigarettes
and
got
a jacket.
away.
Oh man, I forgot a good part of the story. My bad. Let me go back for a second. Okay, so when they drag the stone out to the car, they realize that they're missing the keys to the car.
Oh, that sucks.
Yes, Ian Hamilton, he's like checking his pockets for the keys, and he's like, oh, it must have been in the jacket that I used to drag the stone across the floor. So it's still back in Westminster Abbey. The keys are. So he's got to go back inside. I don't know if this is before or after the cop. There are like different accounts of this. But he goes back into Westminster Abbey in the pitch black, and he's looking for his keys. And by some amazing stroke of luck, he happens to step directly on the keys. And he's like, oh, there they are. And then he just grabs them and goes back out, and they start the car.
This should be called. They should make a movie called The Heist of Destiny. And this should be it.
It
right?
should be called The Heist of Destiny, because I made a list of the things that went right for them, because this just was the stroke of luck after stroke of luck during the heist. Because you've got the guy getting caught the first night when he was trying to stay in there. You have that they didn't even think about the weight of the stone at all. They just ended up like being able to drag it on the jacket and it working. They broke it in half. They lost the keys. They made so much noise, and then they got caught by the police. And then there are accounts of, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the woman Kay, some accounts say that she was the getaway driver, but other accounts say that she was in Westminster Abbey with them, and that when they pulled the stone out, it fell on her toe and it broke her toe. And that
We can't talk to Kay, can we?
no, because she's dead. But later on, they had to amputate the toe because it was caused like her to limp and stuff like that, and it was like lifelong complications from the Stone of Destiny falling on her toes.
Well, at least it didn't kill her like the Ark of the Covenant.
Exactly, that is a good point to make. And
Good luck, in my
it's a
opinion.
good story. Yes, exactly. It was just good fortune after good fortune. Like maybe God just wanted them to be successful with the stone and get it all the way back to Scotland, which they did.
They got it all the way back.
They got it all the way back to Scotland, and they gave it.
How did they get cross border? Is there any news of how they got across the border?
I feel like this probably happened before they were able to close the border. Mm-hmm. And okay, so they get across the border with the stone, and they bury the bigger half in a field. And because
That's wise.
They know that everybody's looking for them, so they got to do something. We got to like get rid of your stolen merchandise, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so they bury the half of the stone in the field, and before they are able to come back and collect the stone again, a gypsy camp has moved into the field and has set up camp.
It's something that's not an American experience at
No,
all.
no,
Yeah,
so
the
we don't
gypsy
have
camps.
like roaming tropes of gypsies that are just like
Yeah,
setting up camp everywhere.
I've definitely heard a lot about them when traveling in England, Scotland, Ireland.
Oh, most
You hear
definitely.
about the gypsies, but but it's just not an American experience. The closest we got is those people who live in RVs and travel around,
Oh yes,
which is not a gypsy.
they buried the stone in the field.
And there's a gypsy village on top of
So
it.
they go back to the gypsy village and they're like, guys, you are currently parked on top of the most important Scottish monument that we've got. And we need you to move. They tell them.
Wow.
And they help them.
As they would, I guess.
The gypsies help them dig up the stone and they reunite it with the other half. They've got this benefactor guy who like
this is a handful of months.
Yes,
afterwards.
this is going to happen over the course of 3 months.
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
So we got Christmas Day is when the heist happens, but you gotta like let the heat die down a little bit.
Yeah,
when you do
just
a
be
big
like,
crime.
where is it? And it just become a mystery. Mm-hmm. You know how news is; it changes after a week. You're kind of bored with it,
Right? And you also can't emerge and be like, "Oh, we broke it."
Yeah, you
either.
can't do that.
So what are they going to do?
Well, I don't know. Tell me.
Oh, they're going to get it fixed, of course.
They got it fixed.
Yes, they took it to a stonemason in Scotland, and he was able to fix the stone. He put it back together.
He didn't say anything. And was that super glue?
Okay, so what he did was he used a copper rod that he affixed inside both portions, and was able to somehow like stick it together like this. And I'm not a stonemason, so I really have no idea how this works. But there's a legend attached to this, and this is really cool. The legend is that allegedly he rolled up a document or a note and put it inside the copper tubing before he enclosed the stone together.
Really?
And so that note is still inside the stone to this day, and that no one knows what it says.
Do you have any ideas?
No, I have no idea. It probably says Epstein didn't kill himself or like buy Bitcoin or something like that. But like,
I think. Wow. Obviously he's very loyal to Scotland because he didn't say anything.
right, exactly.
And an amazing, like, I wonder, anything from like something super patriotic, maybe Sir Walter, you know, poetry. Maybe it's something that's like, you know, who knows?
Some William Wallace quote.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's just
Braveheart wasn't
so
out at that time.
epic. Because when you see it now, I've seen it once. When
It doesn't look like it was ever broken.
Yeah, it looks like it was never broken.
It looks like there's kind of like some markings on one side of it, but it doesn't look like
So hardly, I could not, like, when I saw it when it was in the Edinburgh Museum, I could not tell it was broken.
Wait, so you saw it?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And at that time, I only knew very little about it. But what a tremendous.
But it didn't look like it was broken. It had the iron rings though.
It had the iron rings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so this guy repairs it. He puts the note inside, and Ian Hamilton says, "Okay, well, after a few months, I'm going to get in major trouble for this, so I've got to give it back." So he goes and he leaves the stone anonymously at the Arbroath Abbey.
Exactly where the Declaration
The place
of
where
Independence
the
was.
Declaration.
Wow.
And before he did it,
Holy smokes.
he took a shot of scotch and he poured it on the stone before he returned it.
A true libation.
Yes, a
Maybe
true
we drink to
libation.
that one.
Yes.
Holy wow, that's awesome. So he pours a libation on it in the place of independence of Scotland. Wow.
It's so symbolic that I love it. And
Extremely symbolic, and like, what a valuable space to do that in.
absolutely, it seems like very intentional, well thought out.
Yeah, it's almost like a poetry that is attached to the stone. The stone refuses to not be poetic.
Love it.
Yeah, me too.
And you have the problem now. If you're the authorities, it's like, are we going to press charges against these guys that stole the stone? And they choose very, very wisely, I think, to not press charges at all. None of the four that stole the stone got in any trouble whatsoever.
That's probably the best decision they made,
Because they would have been martyrs.
Oh, they would have been, and it would have.
Yes.
Who knows? It may have actually created a Scottish, rebellion.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
All the moves by the English when it comes to that sort of thing seem very like calculated to like not
Diplomatic, yeah.
Yes, you can't make a decision that riles up your opponent into an open rebellion because you might not be ready for an open rebellion.
I wouldn't want a whole bunch of guys in kilts about the fight.
No, exactly. And you like think about the Scottish people themselves, and it's like, okay, well, when I was researching this,
Descendants of Vikings.
exactly, I found some. I watched a bunch of videos while researching for this podcast, and a lot of them told accounts of this story that I just told you, and most of them kind of. They love the guys that stole the stone. They're like, we're very patriotic about this, and we're hell yeah, we stole the stone back. We brought it back.
National heroes.
Yes, very nationalistic. We brought the stone back. It was ours. It belongs in Scotland. And then you had a couple of people who were like, okay, well, they're vandalizing national property. Like
those are the nerds.
Yes,
those are the real nerds.
Exactly. But you don't like a little bit of excitement and like some Ocean's 11 style heist of the stone. I like that.
Yeah. That's such a good story. And wow, it's not just a story. It happened.
It happened. And Ian Hamilton was the last one that was alive, and he died last year, the year before. Okay. And he was 97.
Wow.
But he lived out his whole life giving interviews about the stone and like being active in politics and stuff like that. So
wow. That's super awesome. I mean, so even recently, recent years, Scotland did have a vote if they were going to break off from England.
Oh yeah.
And many of the Scottish people I knew or have known were totally for it, but it did not go through.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Was this the one in the 90s, or was this the one that they were like trying?
This is a very recent one.
So this is the second, the two one that they were talking about, like the second referendum.
But so the coronation stone was in fact brought back to Westminster. Westminster Abbey.
Yes.
But
they went and got it from the field. Yeah. They went and grabbed it from the Aberynth Abbey, and they brought it back to Westminster Abbey, where it remained until 1996. What happened in 1996?
1996, the British wised up because there was going to be, I think, that first vote, right? Mm-hmm. And the UK Prime Minister, John Major, said, hey, how about actually the Stone of Destiny stays in Scotland, in Edinburgh Castle?
But we'll borrow it.
But we'll borrow it for coronations, which Elizabeth, had been over England forever already.
Right.
And she would have many more years.
It was in 53 when she was coronated. So it was like fresh after stone was returned to Westminster Abbey. And then we haven't used it again in an official ceremony.
Charles III.
Until just
so
this
it
year.
stays in Scotland most of the time. Mm-hmm. And it stayed in Edinburgh Castle, which is a beautiful place. If you guys ever get to Scotland, go take a tour to Edinburgh Castle. In fact, just roam around Edinburgh. You'll be roaming around one of the most beautiful medieval-looking cities out there.
Most definitely. And to bring us back full circle to the joke that I made earlier, you may be wondering, is that who was it that was charged with bringing the stone back in that 1996 ceremony? It was none other than Epstein Island's favorite patron, Prince Andrew.
Seriously?
Yes, you can see videos of him during the ceremony where they've got some of them have their kilts on, and Prince Andrew's right there with the stone, and I couldn't help but think about his alleged participation in some underground sex rings. But that is the topic for another episode.
Podcast.
Yes, exactly.
We won't talk about that here.
So right now, where is the stone?
So the stone, in just very recently, was again moved out of Edinburgh and into Perth Museum. That's its new home.
And that was in March. That was just last month.
Yeah, that was just last month. Mm-hmm. And it was moved there partly because that's where the old Stone of Destiny, that's where the old seat is. That's like the old capital, I guess, rather than the new capital, Edinburgh, which we say new. It's probably older than
the whole
the
country.
United States. Yeah, exactly. But it was moved there. And they also have like other reasons for it. One of those reasons is the science suggests that the Stone of Destiny is not, in fact, from Israel. It's made from sandstone. If it was from Israel, it would be made from limestone.
Okay.
And so they say, oh, well, it obviously was made actually here. There's similar stone.
So that puts a damper on all the ideas that it came from Jacob's pillow.
It does put a damper on it, but dare I say, there's a reason that might be true.
Exactly.
Okay. So I spent a little time in Scotland, and one of the big stories that you hear is, if you go back a little bit in our own talk, under when Edward the First was taking over, those monks in the abbey knew he was coming. they made some choices here. These monks weren't just regular monks. These monks were sworn to protect the Stone of Destiny.
Okay.
These are like the original Knight Templars
Right.
for the Stone of Destiny.
Exactly.
They're not Knight Templars going on crusade. They're Knight Templars protecting the Stone of Destiny.
Or like those blokes that were in charge of keeping up with the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia as well.
Yeah, but these guys are actually trained for fighting.
Okay, so
Like
they're not-
really,
yeah.
really trained for fighting. These are kind of a badass group.
Nice.
They're praying and they're protecting the Stone of Destiny. Usually don't have to do much, but you hear
There's some warrior monks sort of.
yeah,
situation.
warrior monks,
Yeah.
exactly. Not to be confused with kung fu masters, but yeah, kind of like that. Here comes Edward the First. Big nerd starts coming saying, "I'm going to take over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be here."
And he grabs the stone.
And he's just like, "I'm going to be here. I'm going to take the stone. You better watch out."
Because otherwise, why would he be there?
Yeah. So yeah, this isn't loot. This is taking away independence.
Your symbol of autonomy and monarchy and stuff like that. Your
absolutely,
divine
absolutely.
right to rule lays with
Yourselves,
this
yeah,
stone.
yeah.
I'm going to take it and bring it back to England.
and then rule over you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think these monks who are trained for fighting are just going to straight give it up?
No.
Give it to the English monarch? Because that's pretty much how it's depicted in history.
Right,
is
it's
they
depicted as
just
there was
gave it
no.
away.
Yes, there was no resistance. It seemed like from the depictions that I saw,
So legend has it, they in fact hid the real Stone of Destiny.
and they put a fake out.
Oh, they did, and not just any fake. The fake that the current fake. This is again from the mouth of a Scottish man who I respect very well. It's in fact the top of a medieval Scottish toilet seat.
Oh, so the one that they gave them, or the one that they let them take,
Was
the toilet seat.
Was the toilet seat. Well, the
wow.
real one is in fact hidden.
So this is just the part of the outhouse where you sit on.
Yeah, this part
And
that you cover up
They
the
just
smell.
went out there and they just said, "Okay,
Yeah, we'll give
we'll
them
just let
this
them have
stone.
that. I mean, it looks like a stone. We'll carve a little. We'll take a chisel and a hammer.
Let's
out,
carve a little
put some
cross
of
on
these-
it.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and like all of a sudden, this is like what the British monarch is coronated on. Now, how ironic or funny that is to think that the British monarch may be coronated on a toilet seat.
That's just like the longest inside joke of all time.
Longest inside joke. If anyone British listening to this,
We're
sorry. But if this is true, then of course the stone that currently is in the coronation seat is from Scotland. You're not going to pay much for a toilet seat. You're just going to get it from the rocks near you.
Right.
And that would explain also why it may look different than, let's say, the pillar we see
The pillar
earlier
from Ireland.
the one,
Absolutely.
There's so many reasons why this might actually be what happened. And when I think of warrior monks, that life of devotion, that life of meditation, that life of
I mean, they don't have much else to think about besides contingency plans as to what happens if the stone is attacked or stolen.
and they're not going to let that happen.
No.
They're just not going to let that happen.
It seems smart that they would make a copy of it.
Make a copy and give the person a copy. It's not like back then they were checking, is this stone from Jacob's ladder?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this a portal to heaven? And that would also make so much sense.
It would
man.
be much easier to act like you were caught unawares. And you're like, oh, well, here's Edward Longshanks, and he's asking for this stone that's here, and I don't want to die.
I guess we should give it up.
I guess we should. I'm not going to die for this stone, so we'll just let him have it and take it back to England.
Yeah, it changes the whole narrative. That means all of these things since that time have just been over a toilet seat.
Right, exactly. And it stands to reason as to that it was kept such a secret that the guys in 1950 on Christmas Day that stole it, that they didn't even know that it was a fake. Because if it was a fake the whole time and then it was widely known in Scotland, then they wouldn't go to so many lengths to try to steal it. And England wouldn't go to so many lengths to try to protect it from being stolen and to try to recover it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, again, if you're listening to this is one of those unknown legends. You're not going to get this from everyone. This is from the mouth of a Scottish man, and quite a few of them that I know. It's amazing. It changes history, of course, a lot, if that's true.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's not the only opportunity that they have to replace the stone with a fake either. There's actually several opportunities that I was able to pinpoint
Can you tell me about some
during
of
my
those?
research, because you nailed one on the head, which is when they took it from Scotland originally in 1296. Because if it was so important that they would take steps to protect it, and which includes making a copy of it like they did later on. I mean, not making a copy, but taking steps to protect it. But So if Edward didn't take a fake back to England, then there was the opportunity during the 1950 heist that when the stone was missing for 3 months for like Scotland Yard or Scottish Secret Intelligence Service to say,
replica?
we're going to make a replica right now. We're going to go to the place where whatever.
I didn't even think of that.
We're going to quarry it out and we're going to chisel it. Just in case it turns up in Scotland, we're going to have our guys on it and we're going to say, hey, let's make a deal. We're going to keep, you're Scottish, I'm Scottish, we're patriotic. We're going to keep the stone. We're going to give them this fake that we made. And
that's not like it hadn't been used for so long anyway, so they probably don't know what it looks like. People aren't inspecting it.
So maybe they took the fake and they put it at the Aberystwyth Abbey. And then the one that they got back and they recovered is not the real one at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's been tons of replicas made.
Exactly. There's one on display.
Yeah, there's replica at the display at the Abbey. Mm-hmm. There's one at the Abbey of Arbroath. Mm-hmm. There's one there that you can kneel on and like take pictures.
See, so it's not the only one that's around.
It's easy to make replicas, and so I think that's not too hard to suggest that maybe this isn't the real one that's out there.
And if England is also playing the long game in this because, like they don't want to get caught with their pants down.
Oh, yeah.
Did they give a fake back to Scotland in the 1996 Pedo and Prince Andrew ceremony?
What the heck, did they ever pull it out from underneath after World War II?
Right.
Or is this just a fake?
Anytime it changes hands, you have the opportunity for a hoax to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no telling how many stones actually exist right now.
Probably in Ireland. Always probably in Ireland.
Yes, probably always in Ireland. It probably went back there from the very beginning. You know what's interesting is that when they were doing the coronation for Prince Charles III that just happened recently, that they were allowed to do some analysis on the stone for the first time in a while. Mm-hmm. And I mean, with modern technology, they found some stuff. Like, I don't think it was very significant. But the interesting thing is that they found a residue inside the pores of the sandstone that was from some kind of like casting mold that was used to make a mold of the stone for either analysis or replication.
Oh, wow.
So it's like they put some kind of like putty or like some kind of substance around it to take a cast of it. And that a little bit of that was left, and that they found that when they were doing the analysis. Like when that was from, I'm not sure, but it was residual in the pores of the stone.
Holy
so there was probably a replica made at some point.
Definitely some replicas made.
I don't know, like, and what can we find out about the stone today, Jesse?
Well, today I do suggest going and having the Stone of Destiny experience at Perth Museum.
So you recommend that? It's free, doesn't cost anything.
Oh, you do have to, get the tickets. They're free, but you do have to get the tickets. It's a 10-minute experience. Apparently, it's epic as heck, which I haven't experienced this because this only started in March. So I'd love to see how.
I would like to go see it too, like its original place where the stone was from. They brought it back there. It's kind of like a homecoming for the stone.
Go see the Abbey. Go see the replica. Go kneel on it.
I watched the videos. Yeah, that looks like a really epic place to be.
I definitely recommend. But I think in general, the biggest question here is, are you a Scotch fan now?
I'm most definitely a Scotch fan if I drink it slowly.
Yeah, Scotch is only ever meant to be sipped. Mm-hmm. Drinking it fast is, that's what cheap whiskey is for. This isn't cheap whiskey. Yeah, so let's enjoy this. So how, in general, how would you rate this legend from 1 to absolutely legendary?
So
what are you rating it? I mean, this isn't like, it's not the same as the Ark of the Covenant. This is very particular to a national level, but
in present day as well.
But it's they're still very real. It's still very present with us now.
Absolutely. So Josie and I had a discussion about how we should probably rate the legends after we talk about them.
Yeah, rather than just be like, yeah, so
okay, well, this legend happened or whatever. Because sometimes we pick the legend without knowing a lot about it before we get into it. Yeah, and we learn a lot of things.
And particularly, we probably could do some pretty lame things and give it a 1, but this one I don't think is deserving of a 1.
Oh no, not at all. But we're not rating on its believability of the mystery of it necessarily. We're rating it on its legendary status.
Yeah, and how legendary is it? How perfectly a legend is it?
What importance is assigned to it by a mass group of people, and how epic is its story?
Literally, the British government makes laws around this, and is scared of it being taken away. I'd just like to say that.
I agree. Are we going to start these ratings out of 5 or out of 10?
Well, absolutely legendary is 10.
Absolutely legendary is 10.
So what are we at?
Thinking about. Okay, hold on. Let's do the Ark of the Covenant from last week real quick.
The Ark of the Covenant,
Is a
obviously,
10.
yeah, is a 10 because it just is so.
It's the most legendary object that there is. Though.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're rating by this scale of the Ark being a 10, I'm gonna have to give the stone about an 8.
An 8, yeah.
What are you thinking?
I think an 8 is pretty good. 8 because it's not. There's a lot of people who don't care about this.
Mm-hmm.
But
Especially if it's fake.
yeah, yeah, especially if it's fake. But for Scotland, this is particular, and for the UK,
Very
this
important.
is quite important.
I mean, they're going to close the border down.
Yeah, so I think an 8 would be, and for how fun it is, and how many rebellions wrapped around it, and for
The Christmas heist.
that Christmas
I love
heist.
the
I mean,
Christmas
like,
heist.
absolutely an 8. So this is legendary.
It's definitely
That's
legendary.
definitely legendary.
Mm-hmm. Maybe one day we'll do something that's like a 1 or a 2, and we'll be able to like
Give
really
you guys a 1 or 2.
compare,
Yeah.
some compare and contrast. Like we'll just like take a topic from the comment section on one of our videos, and it'll just like shit the bed completely.
Yeah, it may happen. And you guys are more than welcome to offer legends or libations that we need to go ahead and try.
You can give a libation, and we'll try to find a legend to go with it, or you can give us a
a
legend.
and we'll find a libation to go with it, whichever you prefer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
So leave some comments. We love to hear from you guys. We love some recommendations, and we appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten. I think that about wraps it up for this episode, Jesse.
yeah, absolutely good.
We learned a lot about the Stone of Destiny.
I feel like
we never really called it the Stone of Scone the whole time because I always felt like I was going to do it wrong.
yeah, so because we don't want you to get confused with the pastry. So Stone of Destiny.
Or the Scoon.
The Scoon of
Yes.
Destiny. Oh, wait, the Stone of Scoon.
The Stone of Scoon. In Scottish is too hard for me to try to imitate, so we're
Definitely
just going to
after
leave
some
that
scotch.
we'll leave that for our Patreon subscribers only.
All right, well, we appreciate you guys. You guys have a good rest of your day. And till then, let us sip through history.